Hi, we are now live here on Instagram and hopefully also on Facebook and YouTube. Looks like it's delaying a little bit and lagging a touch. Welcome to our usually Thursday morning broadcast today on a Wednesday, because that is how life is unfolding right now. There's a lot of traveling happening on Thursdays for myself in the next few weeks. So our regular Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific and 12:30 p.m. Eastern time is going to be jumping around a bit, but we invite you to join us on all of those times. And if you aren't getting us live, you can always watch it here on Instagram or on YouTube or Facebook, or listen to it on our podcast too. If you're somebody who likes to listen to things on any places that podcasts are available, all the places that you listen to podcasts.
Yes. And so today it is Wednesday. Next week we will be on Thursday, and the week after we'll be on Friday. So there's kind of a rhythm to
There's
the
kind of a rhythm. There's a rhythm, you guys. There's a rhythm.
to
Yeah,
this
we're
disorder. I guess not disorder, but there's still
Listen, it's a go with the flow kind of situation. So, hi, we're here.
Yes. So we are, Natasha and I together are Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, and we're all about helping moms and caregivers prioritize themselves, save time, and accomplish your goals. And we do that through short read workbooks, which here's our bouquet of workbooks. You see, they're all about 45 minutes to an hour to read. And you're not just going to read them, you're going to actually put pencil or pen to paper so that you can learn. And we also teach workshops. Our most popular workshop is called 3-2-1 Done, 3 Simple Strategies to Get Your To-Do List Done. So it's a workshop version of our best-selling book. And then we have our big life design class, which we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But our big life design class is coming up in January 20th and 27th, 2024. And if you can't attend live virtual, because it's virtual, you do have access to the recorded videos. So, but we'll talk
Yeah,
about
for
that a
3
little bit
months.
more.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. That's coming up. I'm really excited about that because it's always the latest and greatest.
Yes, it's always fun. Natasha and I are lifelong learners. The Sorting Hat put us in Ravenclaw. We like to learn and we like to figure things out. And we teach the course only once a year, and so we always learn things in between, and we think of ways to better explain what it is we're trying to share with people. And also, from our own experience, we learn ways to do things slightly differently that we find to be more effective, and we get so excited to share that with our alumni. And so, yeah, and our students, right? Because our alumni also will hear about the latest and greatest. So, but Natasha's going to be traveling a lot.
A lot. Yeah, a lot. We leave tomorrow, so I'm like, woo, there's still a lot to do.
So for those of you who
family.
don't know, we are on the West Coast, but Natasha's from the East Coast.
Right. And so my family of 4 travels back east for the winter. And living in Los Angeles, we don't really have a ton of cold weather clothes just lying about. So every year it's always like, do you still fit in this? Okay, does your brother fit in that? There's this whole thing going on. And then you have to go ahead and make sure that you fill in those gaps, because those kids, they just keep growing, Allegra. They don't stay still.
How
Like
dare they?
my
How
ski
dare they?
jacket, my ski jacket, I finally got a new one last year, but I had one for decades because it just kept fitting me, and then
Right.
I mean, it became like a whole family joke about like how like that thing had been around for this year would have been its 28th year. Like that's how long because it was just a well-made jacket.
Right.
It went completely out of style. It went back in style. It went, and then finally my husband just bought me a new, really, really cute ski jacket last season. But as adults, we don't grow, right? Generally, hopefully. Hopefully. And so I just kept using that same thing over and over again. In fact, my sister texted me this morning. She's like, I can't wait to see the jacket. I was like, oh, I got bad news for you. We called it Big Red. I looked like I was part of the ski patrol because it was a big red jacket,
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm going to miss Big Red. I was like, I know, it's an end of an era. But kids, they keep growing. And so we do this, cold weather clothes dance
Shuffle.
every year. Shuffle, exactly, before we head out there. So there's a lot to still take care of and pack today, before we leave tomorrow. And then within that trip, we're taking trips within the trip. So there's a lot of traveling going on.
You're the opposite of snowbirds. You fly
Uh-huh.
to the snow rather than away from the
Right.
snow.
But it's by choice.
Yes, it is
And
by
we don't
choice.
we're gonna do all those fun snow activity type things, um,
Yes.
snowball fights and sledding and snowshoeing and skiing and we may go for a sleigh ride. We'll see. I don't know if there's time for us to do that, but
How
I'm excited about
fun.
snowshoeing. Yeah, and of
I
course,
love snowshoeing.
yeah, I haven't done it in a long time, and there's some really great trails that I think we'll
Uh-huh.
probably hit up. Yeah, I think
I
that when
actually
we were
have a
there.
really, my first time ever snowshoeing was in Oregon,
Hmm.
and I didn't have any of my own gear, so
Hmm.
friends lent me gear, and they said dress cold, which I don't understand the concept of dressing cold.
Hmm.
I do not dress cold. I dress to be warm. And so they said,
Hmm.
no, dress cold because you get so hot and there's
So hot.
you don't want to have to be undressing. And so I trusted them, and sure enough, they were correct. And when I got undressed, my hair was so wet. It was like I had taken a shower. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how
That's
sweaty
you get
you
really
get.
sweaty. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
yeah.
don't think
It's
it.
no, because you're just walking, right? You just feel
Yeah,
like, oh, how hard could this be? I'm just walking, right? It's not a
you're
big
just
deal.
no. And I wasn't
Yeah.
feeling, and I was so bundled. I didn't feel the sweat, like not,
Hmm.
usually you feel sweat dripping down your back. You can't feel
Hmm.
that because you're just so insulated. But I actually have a really fun tip for anyone looking to woo anyone on a snowshoeing trip.
Oh, I'm definitely looking to do that. Do tell, do
Uh,
tell.
so we were so the snowshoeing trip, this first one, uh there were six of us, I think. I think three women and three men, if I'm correct. And one was a brand new couple. Literally, they had just gone on like their first date the week before. And it was so cute because he's
Cute.
from Idaho and she's from Oregon. So they're way more
Hmm.
cold weather savvy than this girl
Right.
is. Right. I'm like, what? So okay. And he had this whole like he brought along this whole thing. He knew that like I would never think to search out a tree well, but we wanted to get out of the weather. And so he said, "This tree looks like it will have a good tree well." And I was like, "I do not know of
Hmm.
what you're speaking." And so he descended in and he starts doing something and we can't really see, but we hear patting sounds. And he's like, "Okay, come in." And he had like taken his snowshoe and pat out like a bench under the tree well for us and patted it back. So it was like we had like a little barca lounger
Oh, that
inside.
sounds so comfy.
I know, inside the tree
Yeah.
well. And then he pulled out his propane thing and he proceeded to make us all like hot chocolate and he brought, creme de menthe and whatever to dress it up. And we're like, wow, really like
Damn.
winning the points. And guess what? They've been married for like 20 years now. So it worked.
So all of you looking to woo on a snowshoeing trip. That's hilarious. I mean, I brought thermoses of hot chocolate. I haven't like created the hot chocolate in the space.
Well,
Oh,
and I
that's
just loved, right, the
amazing.
planning ahead,
Oh, so
which,
much planning ahead.
right, so he planned ahead. He was like, I am going to wow this lady. And it's funny because it was so memorable. We still tell the story to this day. Like, remember that day when snowshoeing and Eric built us a a sunken living room out of a tree well? So
That's amazing. That
there
sounds
you go.
incredible. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good tip. Good pro tip. You heard it here first. BYWD. Use your snowshoe to make a sunken living room, and don't forget the propane to heat the hot chocolate and the creme de
Mm-hmm.
menthe
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Creme de menthe.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. That's a good hot chocolate additive. I have
Right,
to remember
right.
that for my next hot chocolate party because I've usually Bailey's and I have a bunch of other things like, but I don't have any. I never put out creme de menthe, so I have to put that out next year.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
putting it on my list. I'm putting it on my list.
I love chocolate and mint. It's I love chocolate and mint chocolates. I love chocolate mint ice
Hmm.
cream. So chocolate and
Yes.
mint.
Yeah, no, right. I remember thinking as a kid, remember those after eight mints? I thought those were like the
Oh
fanciest
yes.
things you could ever.
Yes.
Like if a restaurant had the after eight mints, you're like, whoa, this place is fancy. Like, damn. Yeah. I feel like it has to be the right combo. I do like mint chocolate chip ice cream. But I did have like a Lindor, those Lindor like
Oh yeah,
chocolate
the
balls.
little bonbon things.
They have a chocolate mint one, and it
Hmm.
is not the right ratio. I don't know what it is. It's
Oh,
not
you know what
good.
else is really good? Chocolate mint is well, I guess it's not chocolate, it's like creamy mint. See's Candy has a seasonal lollipop,
Oh, really?
but
It's minty.
it's creamy mint, but it's still really, really good. But
Okay.
my my thing with mint chocolate chip is that I find, I have texture issues. If you've watched
hmm
our show before, you've heard me talk about texture issues. Like I want my chocolate chips to be crunchy. And
Yeah.
so what I've always found works really well for when I feel like there isn't enough chocolate or it's not crunchy enough is to add a little bit of cacao nibs. And
Ooh, yeah.
that really gives me my crunch and my chocolate flavor.
I feel like Tillamook's mint chocolate chip is got good crunch, but it may not be crunchy enough for you. I don't know. You're gonna have to give it I don't know if you've had the Tillamook
I
one.
feel
I
like
feel like
no
it's
one's
got
is crunchy enough for me. I always
right.
add
You need the
cacao.
fresh chip or
Yeah.
the fresh nibs to
Yeah.
really get it crunchy. I
Like
hear
when I
you.
take my smoothie, when I'm traveling with my smoothie and I'm not going to drink it immediately, I will actually put the
Mhm.
cacao nibs in a separate container so I can sprinkle them on
You
because if they
guys,
sit, it's just not crunchy enough.
no, it's just not. I feel that. I do feel that. I feel like I've gotten more particular as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I'm like, whatever, who cares? Da, 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 but as I've gotten older, like I have a friend who I used to think she was ridiculous because we'd go to this place and she loved their chocolate cake, but she would ask them when we would order the apps to take a slice out of the case and put it aside so that it would get room temperature by the time her dessert would come, right? And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, stop it. You're so annoying. But now I'm like, I get it. The cake is amazing room
At
temperature.
room
You know what I
temperature.
mean?
Yeah.
It's just, and I'm just like, she was right. It's the little things, y'all. It's the details. It's the little details that make it the difference. I used to just think she was annoying,
Yes.
but really, she's right. It is a far superior cake at room temperature. And I'm sure the cacao nibs are much better crunchy than they are
And
soggy.
you know what? Good for her for asking for that
Oh,
because some people will just be like,
100%.
"Oh, I'll just take it home. I'll
Right.
eat it." Right? If
Right.
that's what you want, there's no reason not to ask nicely for it and
100%. Yeah,
enjoy
absolutely.
your
She
cake
was,
more.
yeah, we used to say that she was Sally from Harry Met Sally because you were just like, oh my God. So
I'm like
many,
half a
but
Sally.
you're half a
I'm
Sally. I
yeah.
like it.
I
But no,
mean,
you should ask for what you want. If it's not ridiculous, right? Or just outlandish and you're not
right.
obnoxious about it, ask for
Hmm.
what you want. There's a way you can do it in such a way that servers do want you to have a good experience, right? So, but
Yes.
in life though too, asking for what you want is
Absolutely.
something that, it's a good skill to develop. Yeah.
So just to next week, by the way, we're going to be talking about year end. So join
Mhm.
us next Thursday to talk
Mhm.
about year end stuff because we believe that the best way to plan out your new year is to first look back over what has happened and then you can have kind of an educated sort of thought session with yourself about like what did happen that I you know, didn't want to happen and what didn't happen
Mhm.
that I wanted to happen. So we'll talk
Mhm.
about that next month. But today, what
Next
I just
week.
like to next week, sorry, next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
week, Thursday, the 28th. But what I'd like to talk about today just a little bit is sort of like the little planning involved when it comes to food. And it's interesting because this is something that I'm talking through with my child. And, especially during the holidays when there are leftovers,
Mhm.
often, how thinking creatively about those leftovers so that you can have another joyous food experience that is, slightly different. So, for instance, one of the things that I've been teaching my child about this year, I'm always teaching her with regards to cooking because my mom is an amazing cook, but I like to joke that she thought of her cooking time as spa time because she would always close the door to the kitchen and not let us in. He was like,
Mhm.
I'm having my fun. Leave me
Good for
alone.
her. She knows what she needed to do for her self-care. Good for her.
Yes. But consequently, literally, I don't cook anything my mom cooks because I never saw her cooking.
And
And
yet you're an amazing cook yourself. So maybe it's got to be hereditary. Even though
well,
she didn't show you.
I
You
don't know
weren't
if
at
it's
her hip.
here's what I think it is. I don't think it's hereditary. I think it's because her good cooking developed my palate.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so when I went to college, you know how there's the freshman 15? I had the freshman negative 15. I
Oh,
was
dude.
like, you want me to eat this? I don't understand. This is not
You're
good
like, this
food.
is gross.
Yeah. So I had
Mhm.
to learn to cook because I was a picky eater in terms of, right. The other night I went out to a restaurant and the server asked, "Are there any food allergies?" And I said, "I am allergic to bad food." And so that is my food allergy. And when you're allergic to bad food, you have to learn to cook, right?
Yes, agreed. So you're like, out of necessity, I
Out
have
of
learned to make a
necessity.
cookie.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that I used to, when I used to teach cooking classes, and one of the things I wanted to teach to my daughter is how to think of a meal beyond the initial meal, because often there are leftovers. And
Mhm.
some people even cook large enough specifically so there are
Oh yeah,
leftovers.
for sure. Yeah.
So we like to do a roast chicken, twice a month or at least once a month. And so, I show my daughter how to make a roast chicken. And then I said, there's always enough meat left over to either do enchiladas, chicken enchiladas, or chicken pot pie or chicken sandwiches. And then, even when you think that there's almost nothing there, we take the carcass and we make bone broth.
Hmm.
And, the carcass will go from this big to like this big when
Right.
you make the bone. It's amazing. It's
Yeah, it
amazing to see.
shrinks. Hmm.
Yeah. And then
Falls
I'll
apart.
just either throw in some noodles or throw in some lentils or whatever kind of soup we're going to, or throw in ramen, whatever soup we're going to have. And then there's three meals that you've had with one chicken.
Yeah.
And so something to think about this holiday season as you're doing your shopping is, make sure you have maybe enough bread to make sandwiches, or maybe even, I don't buy it all the time, but I'll buy it for special occasions. The little Hawaiian bread, the little mini ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hawaiian breads, the rolls, the original rolls, because they have different kinds. You want the original,
Yeah, the
right? Because they
original
have like
rolls and the little
'cause
ones, right? So like
mhm.
those make, like, if you have ham, I just love, right? If you have
Those,
ham for your dinner, there's nothing like
they're
a
the
little
best.
mustard and a little
They're the
ham
best.
on those tiny little rolls.
They are the best. Like those rolls were made for ham. There's no way that they weren't. They just were, right? Because isn't ham like a thing in Hawaii, like, right? Ham and spam and all that stuff, right? Those rolls
Yes.
go with
Yes.
ham like you would not believe. Like
Yes.
I mean, they're good for other things too, but man, with ham, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm half Chinese and half Mexican, so like pork and rice are big parts of my life, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yes. But it takes a little bit of planning because it's not something I have all the time. It's not something that is necessarily carried at every grocery store. Although nowadays Trader Joe's has their own version of it, right? So
That's right.
you can
Hmm.
find, but because Trader Joe's is like one of the closest grocery stores for me. So sometimes I have to make like, oh no, I have to go further to get something I need. But
Right.
they now have it at Trader Joe's. So, just with a
Hmm.
little bit of planning, you can create these fun special moments because again, we don't have Hawaiian bread around our house a lot. So it is like,
Right.
oh my gosh, there's Hawaiian bread in here.
Yeah.
With just a little bit of
That's
planning.
mhm.
And
That's
so
our
say
special go-to for road trips. Excuse me, for road trips. I just make like a, I just cut the whole thing in half and make the whole thing into ham sandwiches and slice them up because they're tiny and they're little and you can just pull them out of the cooler bag like really
yeah.
quick. Like, so if we're traveling and somebody's hungry, like it's like a quick little, you know.
Yeah.
So the kids know that we only really do that on road trips, but I call hammies. I'm like, who wants a hammy? Like, and well, now my one son is vegetarian, so that makes it a little more difficult. More for the rest of us.
Right.
Yes,
I
they're super delicious.
You could even elevate it and grill it a little bit, right? And if you like,
Mhm.
the croque monsieur, croque madame style, you could
Oh
add a little
yeah,
bit of cheese
cheese.
and
Yep,
grill
for
it.
sure.
So, another idea, right, is for if you're having poultry, so if you're having chicken or turkey for your holiday meal, I love a little sandwich on a baguette. So,
Hmm.
keep baguette around again with the poultry and then, a good mayonnaise, which by the way, Trader Joe's has an amazing Dijon garlic aioli
Oh, really?
in a glass bottle.
Oh,
That is fantastic on poultry. In fact, I've been making a really great chicken salad with it. Just cutting up some chicken, whipping
I
that
just
in
used
there.
their, I just used, I just made an aioli last night with their, I thought you were going to say their organic mayonnaise. I thought you were going to talk about their organic mayonnaise, which is also pretty good for mayo. Like mayo's, it can be just vanilla, I suppose, but sometimes you come across a good one. It's not bad. It's not bad. But so the garlic aioli at Trader Joe's.
Oh, yes. Well, this
Very
one is
nice.
mustard aioli mix. So
Oh,
it's,
mustard. Oh, awesome. That sounds delicious.
yes.
Yay.
So,
Oh, that sounds really good.
so good on poultry, and then another really fun tip that just requires just a little bit of planning is like if you have too much stuffing left over, making stuffing muffins the next
Mm-hmm.
day, right? Where you
Those
just
are
take
great.
stuffing, you add an egg, you add maybe a little cheese if you like cheese in there. You can make little muffins, or you can even make basically a stuffing bread pudding. It's a savory bread pudding, and serve that as a dish. So there's fun ways to think about leftovers with just a little bit of planning that can make the leftovers as fun and special as the original meal.
Yeah, let's stretch out the fun, right? Because all the
Yeah.
work that goes into that first meal, there's so much work that goes into it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that you'd like it's really great to be able to to stretch it out so that you can
Yes.
continue to enjoy it.
And one other thing that I always do is my family were huge into popovers for holiday meals, and I'll be
So
making them
great. So
again
good.
for
Hmm.
our Christmas meal. I always make enough batter that we can have popovers the following morning,
Hmm.
fresh. So I put the
Hmm.
batter aside. The next morning, I first thing I do is I turn on the oven to warm it up, and then everyone wakes up to the smell of popovers, which is just like, yeah.
Yum. Can I stay at your house? I want to come stay at your house. My family can go back east and I'm gonna stay at your house because that sounds amazing. I love
Well,
it.
just to torture Natasha a little bit more, we did make eggnog last night. So
I was gonna ask you because you said you're gonna make it over the weekend. Did you make it on the weekend? Did
you
you?
know what? I ended up not making it on the weekend.
Mhm.
Things were busier than expected, and so I ended up making it last night.
I
And
was gonna ask you about the eggnog. I'm like, so tell me about the eggnog.
it was delicious, and it's so easy. Look, I'll tell you all really quick right now. Literally, it's 6 yolks with half a cup of sugar, and you whip that together, and then you slowly bring to a simmer 2 cups of milk, 1 cup of cream, half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of fresh nutmeg, depending on how much you like nutmeg, because I love it, and then a pinch of salt. Okay. You bring that to a slight simmer, and then you have to temper the egg yolks, which means you add the hot milk to the egg yolks as you're whisking, just like a quarter cup at a time. Otherwise, the egg yolks will curdle and it'll still
Mhm.
taste delicious. It will just look kind of gross. So
Yeah,
if
right.
you,
You don't want you don't want a curdled looking eggnog.
yeah, it
Gross. Yeah.
tastes great. But you have to keep whipping, and you add the hot milk slowly. And then once it's all added, you put it back into the pot and you warm it a little bit until it thickens a little bit. Uh it will get much thicker when it's cool, and you can thin it with milk, but if you thin it with milk, you're gonna lose some of the taste. So, just we actually like to just have it warm right away because it's nice and
Hmm.
thin and it has that full flavor. And
Yes. Yes.
I personally like to add amaretto to my eggnog because I think that
Hmm. Yes.
almond
Amaretto.
flavor. But you can always add
So
almond
good.
extract, if you don't drink, add a little
Yeah.
almond extract. And you
Sure.
also add a quarter teaspoon of vanilla once it's off the flame because you don't want to cook the vanilla. And then just
Hmm.
a dash of cinnamon. It's so easy and it tastes like I literally went from never drinking eggnog because I didn't care for the story. See, this is me allergic. I'm allergic to bad food.
Bad food. Allergic to bad food.
Yeah, so I went from never drinking eggnog to now I love it so much because the homemade version just tastes a million times better.
And my older son is like an eggnog, like he's a fiend. Like as soon as it's like December 1st, like, can we buy eggnog? Like he's like immediately, and of course we got to try your eggnog last year and they still talk about it.
Delicious,
Still
as your
talk about it.
littlest one
Yeah, the
says.
little one goes, this is delicious. Yeah, exactly.
Delicious. I love
Delicious.
having your boys over to eat. It's fun. It's
They
fun
are,
watching them
because
eat my food.
your daughter is used to it, right? My boys are like, oh my God. Especially Ethan. Ethan is like the little one. He's just like, it doesn't, whatever he's eating is the best of whatever that is that he's ever had. You know what I mean? Like, I'll make him a grilled cheese, like a regular. He's like, Mom, this is the best grilled cheese you've ever made. Like, and last week when I made him a grilled cheese, like, this is the best one you've ever like. So whatever's happening in that moment, it's such a boost to one's ego.
Yes,
You're
it
just
is
like,
very
oh,
fun
thank you.
cooking for him.
Yeah, he's fun.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I know we had a blast talking.
We had a
And
blast talking. We hope you picked up some fun little tips and tricks. Just if you're joining us right now live, great, awesome. We invite you to pop over to Nikki Madero show whenever you get a chance. She's on YouTube, so you can tune into her anytime. She does have her show every single weekday in the morning. She's based also on the West Coast, so morning LA, excuse me, East West Coast time. And we're lucky enough to get to be a guest of hers from time to time. And we're getting to be a guest of hers today. I'm not sure if it's airing today, but
probably not. Sometimes,
probably not.
sometimes she records some sessions for the holidays.
But
Like
just
we,
in general, she's a great person to listen to. Her co-host
yes.
is fantastic. She's always tackles some really great topics. And we have been blessed enough to have her. She's reached out to us on topics around planning, parenting, that kind of thing. And so we're going to be in an upcoming episode of hers. Not sure tomorrow, the next day, not sure, maybe next week. But go ahead and check out Nikki Madero on YouTube as well. She's really fantastic.
Yeah, and you can watch our recorded versions with her if you go to our website, which is in the comments, bywdreams.com. We have all of our interviews and podcasts that we've done there, so you can listen to them. And of course, if you want to listen to this again, it will be on our podcast later today. And one last thing, we will see you here next Thursday, our usual time, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern. And if you're watching the recording, feel free to comment. We do look back at the comments and answer them if there's a question. So we'd love to hear from you.
Bye. Have a great day.